Wolfe. I get it now. This past weekend, I was in London watching the Pokémon European International Championship Finals. Say that 5 times fast. My partner and I have gone to every single Pokémon Championship Series event held in London since the World Championships in 2022, where something just clicked in me. I finally understood sports. If you don't know what the Pokémon Championship Series is, they're real-life events where trainers across the world compete to see who the strongest and smartest when it comes to the Pokémon video games, TCG, Go, and Unite, all vying for these pretty Pika trophies. Though this year, I was properly hyped up to watch the finals, as after 2 days of long-fought fights, the finalists for the TCG would be Ryuki Okada, better known as Okapi, a player from Japan who's been making strides all throughout the Scarlet and Violet era, and Natalie Millar, one of Australia's top players who I wasn't too familiar with, but once I saw that we had very similar tastes and decks last year, I knew who I was rooting for. As for the video games, the finalists were fellow Brit Yeomans, an up-and-coming player who had only 2 other big-name tournaments under their belt, and Wolfe. The man needs no introduction, if you know you know. But they were all playing in the afternoon, and as much as I respect Go and Unite, I know nothing about them. Congratulations to the winners though. So let's go shopping. Every year, there's been a Pokémon Center pop-up store in the UK at the venue alongside the main event. So after I accidentally booked us in for the earliest possible time slot, on a Sunday no less, we managed to get in an, honestly, very efficient line. We say hi to Pikachu and check out the shop. I was actually really tame this year, and as much as Ogerpon is very, very cute, I only walked away with the exclusive double deck box, one of mankind's greatest inventions, and an Absol sitting cutie, since it was the last member of my top 6 Pokemon that I needed back home. Overall, I'd say our experience this year was pretty good, but I know that's a privilege of having such an early time slot that not everyone can do, and while I know there were complaints about certain TCG lines not being stocked, there was a fantastic range of plushies that I couldn't stop myself from completely obliterating like little grapes. While we waited for the games, we checked out the spectator area at the back of the hall, caught a glimpse of Unite, and experienced the calm bliss of Kitakami, at least whenever I could worm myself into the stalls. We gawked at some cards, pulverized some plushies, said hi to Pikachu again, and checked out the exhibition area. This year, alongside the trophies, they showcased the previous European champions for each game. Shout out to Pokken, you're missed every day. Each video game generation got its own display alongside their original console, and they even showed off high-definition prints of some of the most popular TCG artists, with Yuka Mori even sharing some of her famous figures, switching them up every day. My personal favourite was Keiichiro Ito's Keldeo. We met up with some friends, I do mean real friends, but like, I had to say hi to them too, you know? And we went down to wait for the Masters TCG Finals to begin, where I would witness some of, if not the luckiest, most influential plays of 2 players' careers to date. To give some context, Pokemon TCG rounds at this level have 75 minutes and it's best of 3 to decide who wins the round. For this final match, Natalie played Dragapult EX, a deck that plays aggressive, mathematically, and as long as she had what she needed, she could make quick work of not only her opponent's battling Pokemon, but their backups on the bench too, thanks to Dustwire's devastating sniping ability. Okapi, on the other hand, was playing a deck featuring Trapagos EX and Clorf, but this is all a trick, as the real brawn is actually with Brute Bonnet and Radiant Sneasler, a shiny Sneasler who, with Petulant, can make poison damage fatal. The first game starts with Okapi's Munkidori and Natalie's Fazandipity EX, both only starting with 1 Pokemon, but that's fine, it never stays that way for too long. Right? Okapi brings out Lumineon V, whose ability helps Okapi find Arven from the deck, a supporter card. A type of card that can't be played during the game's first turn. In a blink and you missed it moment, Natalie actually passed her first turn at the start of the game, meaning she chose to do nothing. Looking back, she did this because she actually had a really unlucky starting hand that she just couldn't use. If you don't know, at the start of a game you draw 7 cards, 1 needing to be a basic or unevolved Pokemon to play for the game to start. Natalie's other cards, after drawing 1 at the start of her turn, were Dratcloak, Dusclops, Sparkling Crystal, Rare Candy, Arven, and I believe Boss's Orders and Night Stretcher. I'm not going to read all that for you, but Natalie couldn't play a single card from her starting hand, meaning her only option was to pass. This lets Okapi use Arven to search for a tool, for a Sealstone, an item, Precious Trolley, a powerful card that lets him fill up his bench with Latias EX, Brute Bonnet, and Clorf. He preps his bench up with the right tools he already had in his starting hand, switches Munkidori out for Clorf thanks to Latias EX's ability, poisons both active Pokemon with Brute Bonnet's ability, and with one fell swoop with Clorf, Fezandipity's knocked out thanks to his weakness to fighting cards, with no one to back him up. Game 1 goes to Okapi. this game lasted under 2 minutes. Not unprecedented, but it wasn't looking good for Natalie. For game 2, we start with Okapi's Terrapago CX and Natalie's Budu, with her going first again. The first thing she does is find another Pokemon from her deck. We'll have to see it, with Rotom coming out. Good for them. And a Dreepy. For Okapi's turn, we manage to find and switch in Oranguru V, searching for 2 tool cards using its ability. One of them being this Forest Sealstone again. What this does is it lets you search the deck for anything using the V-Star power Star Alchemy. Once the card is attached to a V Pokemon, these are powerful actions that can only be used once per game, shown by the flip of a V-Star marker. He does exactly that to find the trolley again, getting all he needs to switch into a Budu and use Itchy Pollen, an attack that stops Natalie from using any item cards. Budu's been wrecking the scene since it came out in January, and Natalie is more than able to counter it with the help of Lance, who grabs 3 dragon Pokemon from the deck so that she can evolve Dreepy into Dracloak and continue setting up her team. After Okapi knocks out another of her Pokemon, Natalie finally evolves into Dragapult EX, thanks to her Forest Sealstone attached to Rotom V, knocking out Budu with a perfectly timed headbutt. Okapi manages to take out that very same Rotom thanks to Ghetsis' boss's orders, and some swelling poison, but Natalie and Iono come in to shake things up for Okapi's hand, all while trying to get the advantage back for themselves with a Phantom Dive attack, breaking down not only Terrapago CX, but some of his strongest bench warmers. With fewer cards in hand, Okapi struggles to find a way out of losing Terrapago CX, managing to poison and Itchy Pollen once again with a new Budu. However, it's just not enough as Ghetsis teams up with Natalie to bring forth Oranguru V, letting Natalie get a nasty 5-prize turn with not only Dragapult, but Dusclops' bench snipe. When you need to take all 6 of your face down prize cards to win a game, that was a great play from Natalie. Wow, the back and forth there was crazy, with both players doing their best to not only get the upper hand, but knock each other down, and now it comes down to this final match, and Natalie only started with a Dreepy and it died to Petulant and Sneasel's stupid intense poison damage. While the last game was a nice big block of Jerry eating the cheese, congratulations and what insane luck to Okapi. Starting with only Oranguru V in battle let him search the deck for Forest Sealstone once again, and the ancient booster capsule that would let Brute Bonnet and the Poison Trolley gang come through and sweep the stage. Of course, huge congrats to Natalie too. Second place at one of the biggest Pokemon tournaments in the world is nothing to scoff at. Looking forward to seeing what you're gonna do. Now, clean up, because the gamers are coming. The atmosphere inside was intense, with all the Brits cheering and hollering for Dill, and Wolfe Glicke's fans honestly respecting the vibe and also cheering for Dill. The teams were locked in. Koraidon versus Miraidon, Ancient versus Future, Goth versus Giraffe. It was time to see if Wolfe would buckle, or if Dill would be caught in a pickle. I am too proud of that to let it go. Just like the TCG, we're going best of 3 with the in-game timers prompting swift, smart plays. With the 2v2 format, Wolfe leads with an Orichalcum Pulse of Koraidon and synthesizing Fluttermane. Dill leads with a single strike Urshifu and Incineroar, mocking Wolfe's team with their Intimidate ability. That won't stop him though, as Fluttermane retreats for Wolfe's own, at this point, famous Incineroar, barking right back, even if this means Wolfe's Pokemon are the first to take a beating from Dill's. As Fluttermane returns to the field, Dill's Incineroar crowns up with Terrestrialization, revealing the stylish Ghost type, all to protect itself just in case as it switches out using U-turn into Fergaraf. But Dill's not done yet either, bringing Incineroar back for another Intimidate, further slashing down Koraidon's attack power, who's just trying to show off their own Terra type, being Fire, while Fluttermane counters with Shadow Ball, doing massive damage to Dill's Ghost-type Incineroar, letting Wolfe finish it off with a weakened Flare Blitz, only boosted by Koraidon's own Sunlight, which just so happens to crit. So none of that even mattered. Urshifu's brought back out as Fergaraf tries to reverse everyone's speed with Trick Room, sucker punching the Fluttermane thanks to their own disregard for the changed speed. Wolfe has to bring out Amoonguss after Koraidon beats away 99% of Urshifu's HP with close combat, knocking down their own defenses while Urshifu gloats with their Focus Sash. Dill retreats Urshifu, revealing their last Pokemon, Miraidon, revving up their Hadron engine to bring electric terrain onto the field. Koraidon's not having any of that though, retreating into Incineroar to clear all those debuffs they got earlier. Amoonguss tanks a devastating Psychic from Fergaraf as Wolfe's Incineroar guards itself from Miraidon's Electro Drift. Fool Dill once, the fool is Dill. Try to protect twice and they'll come for you. Miraidon takes the Tiger down the next turn after a failed double protect. Wolfe's Amoonguss and Koraidon are looking worse for wear as Koraidon close combats Miraidon, just missing out on the knockout, letting Miraidon get the revenge KO. The game wraps up with Fergaraf lending a helping hand to make sure that Miraidon knows it's done some great work, and with one last Electro Drift, Dill takes game 1. Now, I don't know that much about Wolfe, but I know he's the king of adaptability. As Game 2 starts, Wolfe leads the same, while Dill trades their Urshifu for Farigiraf. Koraidon's just so eager to show off that candelabra again and leads the game with nothing. Incineroar does what Incineroar does, so Wolfe does what Wolfe does and switches Fluttermane for his own, which is all well and good until Dill knocks off Koraidon's Life Orb, reducing the damage of close combat just enough for Dill's Incineroar to survive on low HP, with Farigiraf helping them escape with a tactical roar, summoning Miraidon. Farigiraf retreats as Dill brings out their Iron Hands, strengthened thanks to synergizing with Miraidon's electric terrain. Wolfe's Incineroar has some very strong words to say about the whole thing, and retreats with a parting shot, calling forth Amoonguss, and coming back to replace Koraidon in the coming turn. With a steady Volt Switch, Miraidon retreats into Dill's very weak Incineroar, coming back to replace Iron Hands, and they fall victim to Amoonguss's slobber of sludge. Iron Hands takes back its place next to the Iron Serpent, who takes down Wolfe's Incineroar with a second Volt Switch. There's more pivots going on here than a 10-story stairwell. Farigiraf and Koraidon come back to the game to replace their teammates, with Farigiraf as good as gone as soon as Koraidon sets up Sunlight. Amoonguss helps Koraidon take out Miraidon, while Iron Hands takes the Shroom out with a heavy slam. 2v2. Last Mon standing. Fluttermane and Farigiraf return to the fight for some major last turns, as Iron Hands shows off its pretty poison crown. It can't flaunt it for long though, as both Fluttermane and Koraidon go in for the knockout. Farigiraf lets out a helping hand, showing that Dill not only applauds Wolfe's win, but the strategies that saw him take it as Miraidon knocks out their last Pokemon. So here it is. Not only the last game of VGC, but the last game of the whole weekend. Side note, Dill, I need you to drop the skincare routine because you were glowing on stream. Wolfe looks good too, but like, he knows, we know. And he leads game 3 with good old reliable Fluttermane Koraidon versus Dill's Urshifu and Incineroar, who denies Koraidon the starting move by, say it with me, doing what Incineroar does. Fluttermane does manage to bring Urshifu down to 1 HP though. Fluttermane saves itself for later as Wolfe's Incineroar takes the stage, toning down 2 physical attackers in the process. Koraidon knocks out Urshifu with Flame Charge, but nothing could have prepared them for Dill's Incineroar getting the revenge KO. Fluttermane returns to the field and so does Farigiraf. Miraidon takes Dill's Incineroar's place as they anticipate a full frontal assault from Fluttermane and Wolfe's own, letting Miraidon tank not only a Shadow Ball, but knocking them over half health by taking a Flare Blitz. Farigiraf leaves Miraidon to it after setting up Trick Room, replaced by the ghastly Incineroar. Wolfe's has another soapbox moment as it switches itself out for Amoonguss, with Miraidon rebuttaling as they Volt Switch back into Farigiraf. And finally, after 2 games, it's Amoonguss's time to shine with a dazzling Dark-type Terra Crown. But it's not quite enough, as Farigiraf eggs on Incineroar's powerful Flare Blitz, taking down Amoonguss in one fell swoop. Fluttermane's not too impressed, as they take down Dill's Ghost-type Incineroar with a Shadow Ball. So here we are, 2v2, Fluttermane and Incineroar versus Miraidon and Farigiraf. Farigiraf tries to chip off Fluttermane's Focus Sash, and Incineroar returns the favour with a Flare Blitz, leaving not only Miraidon in the red, but burnt. Miraidon lets out their rage as they put Fluttermane to rest with Electro Drift, and Dill quells it down with Farigiraf's help. They know there's no way out of this, as Miraidon's set up to fail all thanks to that burn. The game's conceded, and Glicke takes his place as the Pokemon VGC European Champion of 2025. Whether you're a casual or a competitive follower of Pokemon, matches like these are exactly what the Championship series is here for. Every now and then your subscriptions might be clogged with videos like these, or Twitch will promote the streams. I really do recommend tuning in. While there's no one way to enjoy Pokemon, this is a part of the community I'm loving more and more every time I go to an event. I've been judging TCG matches as a Pokemon professor for the past year now at my local game shop, and it's always amazing to see what some of those players on stage would have started off as, no matter the scale, no matter the crowd, no matter the person. That's Pokemon, and anyone can get there. Congratulations to not only the finalists of every division or every game, but everyone who took part at EUIC. It's brave to put yourself out there at such a big event, and no matter your placing, your confidence, or who you are, you deserve to be there. If you'd like to see me cover more events like this in the future, or enjoyed this style of coverage, feel free to shower me with compliments in the comments. If you'd like to check out my other videos, I recommend my lore stuff, where I look at a Pokemon's lore and compare it with real-life counterparts, write a story myself, helping build on their character and place in the universe. Make sure to subscribe too, just to check out anything else I do, and maybe just maybe, we can see each other again.